episode right now. In the same day. This is the 4th episode, guys. This is the 4th episode. We're gonna keep it rolling as we go. I filmed 4 different type of readings, and for those that might not understand what I mean by readings, upon my specific spiritual journey, because it's different for everyone involved. Upon my spiritual journey, I have come into the understanding that I love to read tarot cards, oracle cards. I utilize divination tools to provide insight for other people. With that being said, I haven't really talked about this version of me because this version of me has come to realize a lot of the divinational tools that are utilized for communications with spirit get demonized. To be quite frank, it gets demonized, and I'm tired of living with a mask that I don't provide insight for people through spiritual communications, such as divinational tools, tarot cards, oracle cards, whatever, And honestly, I'm a channeler. I channel for people, no matter what kind of situation or conversation that we're having, And it's very beautiful to finally just say that out loud. That's my view on everything. With that being said, I just had some beautiful readings. Some are full of clarity and truth that's going to trigger some, because those conversations that bring realizations for some, when they don't realize that sometimes we are the ones causing harm to others. And I had a reading just now where it talks about, hey, you gotta be clear. You just bring clarity. If that's what you're desiring in a conversation, bring that clarity into the communications of your connections. You can't be worried about how you're gonna come off. Just be authentic and be like, hey, bro, I'm not in the best mindset right now. It's not you. It's just me trying to communicate about that and go forward. I had like a smudge over there. It was bothering me. For those just listening, I had a smudge on my camera or something, but I fixed it. Yeah, I've come into this realization that I'm an initiator for people, spiritually speaking, project wise. It doesn't matter what area or focus that you are in life. I am one of many initiators that you're going to come across in your lifetime. I am here to take the responsibility of, hey, this is one of the roles I play in this big spider web of our universe, because we are the points of the spider webs, and those lines within the spider web itself, right? The threads, those are our connections to one another, and some of them fall away when we're not utilizing the knowledge that we can share with one another in order of betterment of each other. But yeah, I do readings, and if anyone ever wants a reading from me or just a consultation of just speaking about the energy of what their life is like, and they just need someone like one-on-one to speak with about it, I'll probably offer that, especially if there's a high demand for it. I will consider being open to doing that for the first time, and I will say, as a boundary, I will probably charge money for it. But other than that, I'll do it at a reasonable price, However, I will be doing it. I just know that if I open myself to that service, I would like to be respected in that boundary, because energy is energy, and it is a service. to provide to others. Oh my goodness, my kitty cat's doing biscuits. Him making some bread. Oh, I love it. If you are ever curious about videos that I give channeling wise when it comes to advice on life, I did Jes With Life on TikTok. Let's make sure I'm saying. Anywho, my camera was acting up, so I had to stop the recording and just restart. But yeah, my ad on the TikTok itself, I only have a TikTok account for this specific divinational channeling. It's called Jes With Life, JESWITHLIFE. This is more so just a life advice I can give. I do Q-tips on there, which is a little Q-tip for you to take on your way. Just a quick tip. It could be medical, it could be just life in general, like your washer and dryer advice, because recently we didn't realize that the dryer vent needed to be cleaned. It got cleaned, but it can catch a fire. So this is a reminder to anyone: clean your dryer vents. That is all. Anywho, you got Q-tips, like just anything that comes to mind. I'm like, you know what? This feels like a Q-tip that I can just give to whoever is open to receiving. Speaking of the spiderweb of life, oh my god, I just realized I just connected that to my spiderweb of life analogy concept that I've recently come into. I do Q-tips, let's see what else I do for that channeling TikTok account. Let's see. I do confirmations, I do out of the blue channelings, and then quoteful. I have a lot of little series here and there. I don't really have them all under one playlist of each little series yet, but I think that has to happen when you have a certain amount of followers. Not sure. I even did one video about the process of the progress, because there are days where you're just processing the progress for which you've experienced in life. And we just need those moments where we process, oh my god, I'm at this point in my life. Oh my goodness, I made it to this point for which I used to desire so much. I'm now where I used to want to be. I'm now who I used to want to be. Quote, who I used to want to be, because honestly, it's always been there. It's for us to see it for what it is. Yeah. I'm gonna offer services especially when it becomes a high demand. I also would love to offer services upon high demand when it comes to one-on-one coachings of ideas or stuff that you're working on, meaning I can be the accountable buddy in your life. So I will eventually get that rolled out, the accountable buddy system. I have a whole idea with that. You'll understand once you stay in tuned with that, and that's why I talk about channeling, and why specifically you're just tuning into my channel and I'm tuning into your channel, and what I receive on the wavelength. I'm just a channeler for people. It's pretty much mediumship to my own extent. Every person that's a medium has different abilities. It's why I also believe everyone has abilities. It's just us learning how to practice it, like muscle memory, as in like our muscles memorize like certain movements. Our abilities are those muscles, and it's like learning how to do that muscle memory. It's just training our muscle to remember moving forward. And it's how often we practice it, but also how often we believe in it. It's like for those that are able to walk, it's just muscle memory. We just walk and we see it for what it is. We believe, oh my gosh, I can walk, so I get up and I do it based on muscle memory. That's how any ability is when it comes to like psychic abilities or just other abilities that you might believe in when it comes to the supernatural world. Speaking of supernatural, I feel like this is a good way to segue into what I believe in when it comes to the paranormal. I would love to. Why do I do this? It's not investigations because I believe there's so much out there that we just do not understand. And I'm not trying to understand it. I'm more so trying to communicate it with it on the level that of which it communicates. So investigations doesn't sound like the word you would want to do when it comes to that. What's the end? I just want to make sure I understand the word for what it is. Investigations, the action of investigating something or someone, formal or systematic examination of research. First of all, I don't care for the systematic ways for which we all do things. There's so much underlined in that comment that I'm not gonna go further on. For those that can't see me, Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. And I'm not joking about that. There's so much happening with like Palestine, the Congo. There's just so much going on in this world that we could be better informed about. And that's what I mean about the whole paranormal world, like spirits and just the unknown. Like there's so much to understand, and I don't want to take the approach of investigating because it feels like you're trying to instigate. I more so want to communicate from the level of understanding that I don't speak the same language or wavelength that spirits do. Aliens. I don't want to call it aliens, but just beings out there that are on such levels of understanding compared to our level of understanding as human beings. And the spirit world fascinates me. I will be communicating with them eventually from a sense of respect and love that, hey, I have this belief that we're all on the same timeline, even though each time is from a different time. Time is a social concept. I believe it's an illusion. I believe that we're all somehow all of our timelines are being lived at the same time. I don't know what that concept or theory is called as of yet because I haven't researched into it. I know that there's going to be a part of my life where that will be dedicated to understanding that. Right now, I'm in this part, this version of me, the desire of eventually communicating with spirits, one-on-one. I believe I already do so. I just don't understand that muscle for which I am learning, that ability for which I'm learning. Like for the longest time, I know I talk to spirits in general. Just side note from like channeling for people, just ancestors and whatnot. Confirmation. I personally believe when I had that out-of-body experience when I was shot at 2 years old, I believe that created a connection for me when it comes to seeing things, when it comes to hearing stuff, when it comes to just understanding levels of information for which I don't research for. I just know it to be true. I don't even have names for it. The reason I research it is because I have this knowledge in my brain and I know it already exists. I just don't have the words for it because that's where the research comes in. It's like the intuitive just knowing. I'm like, I know certain things that I just know. And then when I research about it, I'm like, oh my god, this is an actual thing. It's actually real? What do you mean? I was just curious about something I just knew. Deep down, I'm like, I know this is real. Wild. It's wild when my intuition shows me where I just know something so with my whole being. I'm like, I believe this. And then I look into it and I'm like, I had the answer this whole time. I just needed to find the words to express what I knew. And yeah, I haven't exactly practiced the abilities that I do know I have when it comes to like speaking to spirits because they're not dead. I don't know why people call it the dead because they're not dead. They're still very much alive. It's just a different form of living. I call them spirits. It is interesting because I realized certain parts of me blocked certain abilities until I could understand them at the level I do. Like, I had abilities unlocked for me whenever I reached a certain level of understanding of knowledge, or when I started my spiritual journey. This is what this tattoo is for those watching. And those listening, I'm showing my dragonfly tattoo. I have a dragonfly tattoo on my left wrist. In the beginning of my spiritual journey, a lot of dragonflies showed up every single day. So much so that it was just hard to avoid the truth of my life. And I I looked into these 2 articles of when I got shot. There's 2 articles that are still live on the news page that I found them on. And there's just so many synchronicities within these 2 articles. A lot of 2 and 3s would show up. This happened in 2020. It was the end of 2019, and then in 2020 I started taking it serious the more I looked at these 2 articles. And the numbers 2 and 3 kept popping up, right? And when you have the situation, I was actually 23 when I started reading this article. Because I found them years ago, but I didn't take it as serious to read them. Just something didn't connect for me. I was like 18, maybe 20 when I first searched these 2 articles. I'm like, oh my god, there's 2 articles of me out there. I felt a little like, oh my god, I felt famous. You're so silly. I know during that time when it happened, it probably was like the talk of the town because, oh my god, a 2-year-old got shot. But the way that the articles were written, it was like decoded for when I was going to discover, because I was 23 when I found it. A lot of 2s and 3s were in that. And then it was 2020 because there is a certain area in the articles where it said 2 and then 2, and it's just a lot of these numbers and stuff, synchronizations and whatnot. And then what really got me going when I first discovered these 2 articles, I don't remember which person it was, but someone was going to be charged with a 3rd degree of something when it is in relation to my being shot. It wasn't, no one shot me. It's just, this was in relation to family and like the recklessness at the time of having the gun, where a 2-year-old can walk around and touch it, pretty much someone was charged with 3rd degree something. I don't remember what it was, but during the time I was reading it, I was going to school for my 3rd degree. The way I read it was very straightforward. So me reading these 2 articles with all these synchronizations of the numbers and just how specific certain things were upon me reading it, I just had a moment of I was so like, this is the universe was speaking so loud to me in that moment. And a lot of times we're going to see what we need to see in the moment of. Yes, it's very catered to our specific vessel of the human body as we speak. So yes, I'm going to see signs. I'm going to see so many synchronicities. And that's where discernment is important, because we sit here and we can get into a psychosis of signs, seeing signs for everything. We just keep seeing signs and we get overwhelmed and we're like, oh my god. This is where discernment's important. Okay, this is where I come to you and I'm like, discernment is important, my love. You gotta discern. Yes, everything is a sign. However, we're gonna have to get into that moment in our lives where we just, enough is enough with overwhelming ourselves with making everything a sign, because that's when the ego comes in and then we make it all about ourselves all the time. We gotta see there's more to the picture than just ourselves. In that moment, it was important for me, and that's what started my spiritual journey, because I then saw a lot of dragonflies and whatnot after that confirmation of those 2 articles. Dragonfly. Let me just look into, because this is what started it all. We're back at the beginning. Oh my god. Dragonflies, meaning what they mean spiritually. Renewal and resilience. Change and the perspective of self-realization, and the kind of change that has its source in mental and emotional maturity of the understanding, and the understanding of, hello, bing bong, fuck your life, and the emotional maturity, or, hold on, let me reread this. The dragonfly in almost every part of the world symbolizes change in the perspective of self-realization, and the kind of change that has its source in mental and emotional maturity and the understanding of the deeper meaning of life. During this is actually when 2020 happened, I don't know if I'm allowed to say, the pandemic, on YouTube at least, regulation-wise, but during 2020 when that happened, and we were all just kind of forced to deal with our self-thoughts, just, I say the word force, but it just felt very forceful because of how abrupt the change was for us. During that time, I was home a lot. I worked from home. I think a lot of us were, but I worked from home. I personally had the opportunity to work from home. I'm thankful for that. And then we have a pond in our yard, so I would walk around the pond a lot. A lot of self-reflection came for that. And that's where I decided to finally face my insecurities of my scars, the darkness of the memories I had. I remember sitting at this very desk. And for those that can't see me, I'm sitting at my desk, and then I got this notebook and I had a pen in my hand, and then I had to continue recording. It did one of those weird moments again, so I'm making sure I stay mindful of that. I probably won't be too much longer, but when I do this episode, back to what I was saying, I was sitting at this very desk. For those that can't see, I just laid there. I had a pen in my hand. I had a notebook where my head was next to where I could see it. I had my glasses off, and I was fighting myself so hard. I was fighting it so hard. I was avoiding it, and it was so much that I couldn't bear it anymore. I just started shaking so much physically, and then I just remember starting that first sentence of one of the most beautiful writings I've ever written in my life when it comes to a letter to my 2-year-old self. And I was crying. I was a mess. I was crying so loud. I remember Mama Melissa even checking on me. She just goes, "Are you okay?" I think she heard me crying from the other room or something. And she just does this because I had my glasses off. I think I even took my hearing aids off because I was so overwhelmed and overstimulated from those emotions of just avoiding and not wanting to face the reality of how insecure I felt about my scar and just my and like the harshness I would treat myself for having such a traumatic experience that was out of my hands. Part of me blamed myself for that situation. I'm like, I was 2.5 years old. Why are you trying to take responsibility for something that was completely out of your hands? It's a miracle that you're still here today. I'm a miracle child. I love my impulsive jokes. Okay. Yeah. I will eventually publish that writing. I haven't even touched that poem or writing since that day. I just remember how powerful it felt writing it alone. It was very emotional. And, a lot of times, I feel like I'm channeling for someone when I say this. A lot of times in the past, when it comes to expression through video, expression through the writings I've written, anything that I create out of pain, I would avoid sharing it with people or the world because I was terrified that the pain I experienced was going to inflict others just from experiencing the pain through which I expressed it in. I was so terrified and scared that my pain would cause more pain onto others, and I didn't want anyone to go through that because I was trying to protect them from that feeling. I think that's part of what stopped me from doing this now. If you find yourself in that situation, I'm going to bring you some reassurance, some clarity. That pain you felt, it was your experience. I know you are scared to share that pain out to this world because you just don't want anyone else to experience it on the level that you did. You holding it in is only going to bring more damage and harm to yourself because you eventually are going to explode if you don't allow yourself to express this pain in a way that will allow you to have a coping mechanism. So through art or expression, however you see fit, I feel you are avoiding yourself when you are also suppressing yourself with this pain that you feel. I feel this is very heavy on you, and the pain that you felt was out of your hands. Do not take responsibility for the pain that you experienced. It was not something that you deserved. It was not something that you did to yourself. It was out of your hands, and it's a pain that you're valid for feeling. Just if you are going to take responsibility for how you are responding with it rather than reacting with this pain that you have. Because whether you realize it or not, right now you are in reaction mode because of this pain that you're feeling, and then you're reacting towards those that don't deserve the reactions that you're giving them. because they might be trying to come to you with open arms and love and just being there for you to respond with this pain that you have, in terms of allowing it to come out in a healthy way rather than you suppressing it and eventually exploding on people. And then you also might not realize you suppressing this pain is also suppressing the voice of others. You now have this responsibility, with me speaking to you, you now have this responsibility to share and express upon the pain that you have experienced with the world, because whether you realize it or not, while yes, you were the individual person who felt your individual pain, there's a collective out there that will see your expression of the pain that you are showing with the world. That, hey, my pain might not be the same as your pain, and we're not going to compete with each other's pain. I'm not going to validate your pain because I felt a certain pain. Everyone has their own certain pain. Everyone has their own form of fucking hell. And we're all going through something as we speak. We're not going to be saying anything about it. And that's where it becomes problematic. But that's where we allow ourselves to express whatever pain we experience, because it's to show others that, yes, while we have our individual hells, collectively, we have a heaven. Collectively, we can be each other's heaven of expression. And I'm not speaking of a religious stance. Don't bring religion into this. I'm not narking on religion either. I love religion for its own purposes. I'm not religious, but I love it for the sake of what good does come out of religion, you know? We're not talking about religion. But what I want to talk about is the pain that we all experience. There's I in pain. That's because we have our individual pain. However, we all are in pain in some type of way or another. It's how we allow ourselves to feel it from a healthy aspect rather than just holding it in and then it exploding in our faces. I notice I've talked about that twice so far in episodes. If you feel like you're gonna explode, allow yourself to connect with people, connect with mental health resources. There are mental health resources out there. Take that serious. Take yourself serious. The thing about pain, because we all feel it, and we're all in our own personal hell here and there. We find heaven within ourselves as well as within other people. We realize that our pain can only become the demon if we allow it to. It can also make us the demon if we allow it to. Ooh, I feel like someone's crying right now. You're valid for that. Let it out. Don't hold it in. Allow it to come out. Do not hold it in. That felt healing. That was healing to be able to express that out loud, because I realized I am an expressor for people that are not able to express for themselves. And that's why I say I'm an initiator as well. I initiate initiations for people to allow them to move forward with whatever worries they might have in their mind. Oh, that was deep. I am grateful that I had the opportunity to speak about that. Ooh. I feel like I'm trying to channel again, but I'm trying to discern if that's for me personally or for whoever is viewing this. It's interesting because I'm finally allowing others to see that, hey, this version of Jess, I refer to her as the High Priestess instead of the High Priestess in the tarot card. What does the High Priestess mean? I don't know. I'm kidding. I know very much. It's one of a, what is the High Priestess? I feel like someone needs this. So it's about, this card is associated with secrets, mystery, the future as yet unrevealed, the woman who interests the querent, if male, the querent herself, if female, silence, tenacity, mysterious, or mystery and wisdom and science. But what does she symbolize? What does the lady symbolize? I'm kidding. It's just really, it's about going deep. It's very about the intuition. It's about, for me, the card means deep intuition. Meaning you already know what it is that you need to know, whether you want to be aware of it or you're avoiding it. It allows us to see the illusions for what they are. Balance, my dude. Yeah. But I'm ready for people to see this multifaceted being that I am. And that's actually what I was talking about with one of my homie for life, actually. I'm not gonna talk about the conversation for which we had, but I was just talking to them. I'm like, homie for life. They gave me the space to talk about this version of Jess because I was like, hey, dude. I'm not gonna go too deep in the conversation. It was just like, we were talking about this, and they just allowed me to have the space to, they were curious on what it was about from my perspective. And I was just like, honestly, I want this version of Jess to speak about my focuses and life experiences, as well as the knowledge I feel is important for people to know. Mostly coming from the approach of this version of Jess, so advice or information from a certain version of who I am. So this version that you see today in this episode is the High Priestess. It's the spiritual being of, or spiritual version of who I am, And I was just speaking about how the pilot episode was just, let's give this a shot. Let me take myself serious and actually give this a try. And the next episodes to follow will pretty much have topics or subjects that I focus on different from one another because they're coming from different versions of myself, And I talked about how the seed was planted years ago. So now I finally feel I've cultivated enough knowledge to just share with the world. And honestly, when the seed is planted, it can sprout anytime. It doesn't need years of sprouting in order for you to take yourself serious. I feel like someone needed to hear that from themselves, for themselves. And then I said how my main goal for this specific, not only do I have my personal desires within what I just spoke about, the goals I do have for this specific podcast, this hub of myself, this version of me, one of the main goals is to show that we are multifaceted beings. I don't want this version of Jess. The reason I created it too is recently I went by the High Priestess, and then I changed, and then I went to Jes With Life. And then I had my main account. I just kept changing the names. I used to go by Starseed Meta. I don't do Starseed Meta because I feel like Starseed brings a certain level of racism, systematicism, and we're not going to do that. I feel like that is very groupy. But Meta was more so my honoring Archangel Metatron. That's my archangel. that I believe in. But I had to start seeing meta. Again, we don't fuck with that version. Well, I'm not gonna shame that version of myself. I just realized, oh, that was too groupy. That was too judgy. Anywho, and that's not to shame or invalidate those who really do relate to the starred seed experience, because that's their experience. They feel very connected to that, and I'm not gonna shame them for that. That's why I won't shame someone for having like religions that I'm not religious with, you know? Everyone has their own thing. For me, that didn't align anymore because I felt it was very groupy. That was just my experience. That's not to shame someone else out of their own experience, because that works for them. In that moment, that works for them. If it's what allows them to have their moral compass, that works for that person, okay? We're not gonna shame them. Anywho, that version of myself. And then you got this version too, which was the creative Jes. I had other versions of myself that I don't even have in my mind right now. And then I realized, you know what? Thank you, confirmation. I was like, you know what? I no longer want to just do these labels of myself, because those were trying to conform me, confine myself. I was trying to put myself into these confinements of labels, these confinements of limiting myself to one niche. And I'm a multifaceted being. I like all of these things. I like doing photography, videography. I like recording videos in general. It doesn't just have to be videography. I love to paint. I love to draw. Oh, there's painting right there. I love to draw. Maybe one day I want to do sculpturing. I don't fucking know. Maybe I want to learn how to do... what is it called? Aero? What is it called? When you learn to drive a helicopter. Can't remember the name right now. Maybe I want to become a magician, you know? I have all these desires. I have a hobby dedicated to learning other hobbies. I'm a multifaceted being. I don't think I'm going to be stuck with one career. For me, that feels limiting. For the next, it's not limiting. Some people want that one career for their lifetime. That works for them. That aligns for them. For me, I am the multifaceted being, and I want to be the example for others that you don't have to choose one niche if that's what you desire. We're allowed to be multifaceted. Who said that we have to limit ourselves? I am going to be the example for others that we can do just more than one niche. Ooh, I spoke a lot today. This is my third episode that I filmed today. I just felt the inspired action to do so. But that's what I was telling my homie for life. I was just like, it won't be one niche, but multiple. The episodes will highlight what niche or whatever episode you're watching is going to highlight one of these multiple niches that I have, or it might highlight multiple niches that I felt like highlighting in the episode, you know? But it's going to highlight what niche or focus the episode will be about within the title itself. So whatever the title of the episode is called, focus on that. And guess what? I have a cool name for these episodes. I'm over here writing and saving these episodes, right, on my computer. And I found a cool little creative little idea for my specific podcast episodes that I'm going to name, okay? It's the coolest little thing that just aligned into place. So you know how, let's see, it's gonna be called a podcast episode, right? So I saved the file as and then I put dot because I didn't feel like spelling the whole podcast word out. I was like P dot, and then I said EP for episode dot number, you know. And then when I was looking at this, was just a beautiful little alignment. I was like, oh my god, this idea is for me. I'm gonna just go for it and run with it. But it stayed as, I read it as the name. I said TVOJ PEP dot number. And then I read it as TVOJ PEP number. So guess what, my dudes? This is our pep talks. This is the pep talks of these episodes. And I swear to God, if I don't run with that idea, I'm going to just be mad at myself because it created itself for what it is. So now the titles are going to be like pep talk. It's going to be pep talk, whatever this topic of is this, or niche of this episode is, you know. It's our pep talks from now on. We're gonna have pep talks, baby. We're gonna have pep talks, baby. And then the way I ended my text with my homie for life for now, I was like, I want to be the example that people can be multifaceted and not have only one career or only one creative outlet of their lifetime. We're gonna be examples. For anyone that's connected to me, we're a community because we're united. Alright? And if you are connected to me, baby, we having our pep talks. This is what this podcast specifically is about. It's going to be our pep talks. And that created itself upon today's filming for 3 episodes. And now we're on the 4th episode right now. Imagine the beautiful creations that we can continue doing while realizing that we are multifaceted beings, baby. You're connected to me. Do every single thing that you desire. Who's stopping you? Yourself? Fuck you. Fuck you for stopping yourself. I'm gonna tell you that right now. Fuck you for stopping yourself. Because really, it's just you being in your own way. I say that as someone who's been in my own fucking way. I've been wanting to do a podcast for years now. And of course, the time... See, I'm making excuses, but we're not going to do that. I finally just took myself serious. I'm like, you know what? We're going to fucking do it. We're here now. Queen and king shit, or they, them shit, let's go. Keep your crown up is what I'm trying to say. Keep your crown up. Don't drop it for nobody. Don't drop it for yourself. Anywho. Ooh. Hey, I will shout out Homie for Life. If you need a social media, no. You're going to need a social media manager, okay? And we're going to turn to Jenica for that. She's linked below. I am not being sponsored or asked to do this. She didn't ask me for this. I'm just doing it because she's my homie for life. And we support one another. And we uplift our community, okay? So, for those that are looking for a social media manager so that you can focus on your creative craft, Jenica. She's linked down below. I will be mad if you don't schedule with her. In all seriousness though, she's a social media manager, so if you are looking for someone that does social media management, check her link below. Hit a homie up. Don't hit a homie up. Schedule a homie up. We uplifting in here, okay? With that being said, I'm gonna finish this podcast episode. We're gonna finish our little pep talk. I love you so much, okay? As always, with my love sign in sign languages. With my I love you in sign language, I love you, okay? As always, much love to you and your journey, and as well as to you and yours. Much love. We out. I've done bloopers for the last 2 episodes, or last episodes, so I'm gonna do bloopers for this one. This is like an hour or so way after the fact of me filming, but We're doing some Duolingo if you want to slide in my DMs, Duolingo. I'm referring to my favorite fucking tweets, the threads that they be posting, be making me want to take my threads off. I'm kidding. I'm just being a troll. But I love using my Duolingo. I really love Duolingo. Let's be for real. Let's just do some of my exercise on the bloopers really quick here.
Escribir. Escribir.
Escribir, to write.
Estudiante.
Estudiante, student.
Feliz.
Feliz. Feliz Navidad, happy.
Y.
And.
José está ocupado.
José está ocupado.
Bien.
Bien, okay.
Mal. Mal.
I'm assuming that's unwell. Mal. My. That's not pronouncing the L.
Escuela.
Escuela. School.
Mexicano.
Mexicano. Mexican.
Carmen está muy ocupada.
Carmen está muy ocupada.
Sí, estoy muy ocupado. Sí, estoy muy ocupado. Muy, mucho, muy.
Muy, very. Hola, yo estudio aquí en Mexico. Hello, I study here in Mexico. Mi blank Francisco. Blank, ¿cómo te llamas? So, I believe my name, nombre, no. Oh, no. Mi blank, my teléfono, my nombre, is that name? I thought it was mi amo. My name, okay, mi nombre es Francisco. ¿Y tú cómo te llamas? Sorry.
El hombre está mal.
Mi hombre está mal. The man is unwell.
Perdón, señor, ¿cómo se llama? Llamo. Perdón, señor, ¿cómo se llama?
Why is it saying llama if it's talking about a man?
Llama.
Oh.
Buenos días, ¿cómo te llamas?
Buenos días, good morning. ¿Cómo te llamas? What is your name? Sí, Gloria. Yes, Gloria. Blank, feliz y ocupada. Yo escribo un blank importante de medicina. Sí, Gloria. I might get this one wrong. Oh, I got it right. I'm happy and busy. Yo escribo un libro. I'm writing. Okay, that's why I was like, I couldn't say it out loud.
Mi gato se llama Señor Pérez. Él está muy feliz y ocupado.
My cat's name is Mr. Perez. Él está muy feliz y ocupado. Señor Perez is un gato.
Lo siento, estoy muy ocupada.
Lo siento.
Lo siento, estoy muy ocupada. Lo siento, estoy muy ocupada.
I'm very busy. The man is unwell.
El hombre mal.
Está
mal. Señora, ¿cómo se llama usted? ¿Cómo? Señora, ¿cómo se llama usted? Señora. ¿Cómo se llama usted? No, no estoy bien. Estoy mal y cansada. ¿Tú cómo estás?
La mujer no está. No. Yeah, y'all are there. Are you happy? Oh, now I don't know what to type. ¿Cómo está feliz? I knew I was doing the wrong thing. Está feliz. Si el niño es muy feliz. I swear this might get wrong too. Oh, thank the Lord. ¿Estás feliz? Okay, I had to overcorrect where I was wrong. I did como está. That's just, como
Get more with Super
asking,
Duolingo.
como estás asking you how you're doing, but I wrote como está happy. So I was like, how are you doing happy? Instead of estás happy. I'll do another lesson, and then that'll be the end of the bloopers, but I felt like including y'all for this one. So far, I got 3 little lessons done. I'm doing my 4th one. The hardest exercises from this level.
Juan no está cansado.
Juan está
Usted. Juan no está
ocupado.
cansado.
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 Oh, I knew I didn't hear
¿Te
it.
llamas Carmen? ¿Te llamas Carmen?
Fuck. Tool. I swear
Está,
if I get this wrong.
está.
Disculpe, señora.
Excuse me, ma'am. ¿Cómo está Julia?
Hola, me llamo Alberto. Yo como un sándwich de queso y bebo un jugo de naranja. Estoy muy bien.
Ma'am, what is your name? Señora.
Señora.
I'm probably gonna get this wrong and it's gonna be a
llama.
lesson, y'all. Yeah, I'm gonna go through that lesson again. I got 2 in my head just now. That's okay. We finished 3 of them, you know? But I'm gonna get back to eating my food and watching this video, but I wanted to do this before midnight. It's now midnight 09, so, and I do call it midnight 09 instead of saying 12:09 or 12:09. I go midnight 09, maybe midnight 09, but you get the vibes, bro. That's how we pronounce around here. I thought I'm ending these bloopers. I love you. Thank you for watching and listening, but we Gucci.